that my condolences to the family, to the friends, and to the whole nation for the loss of this great giant. Raila Odinga was such a unique leader in our country. He embodied the principle that leadership is not the position, it is the service. It is the service you give. And because of his service, we've come to appreciate who he was and what he did for our country. Leadership is also not position. That is why you see all those people, even though he did not occupy a particular defined position in government, it was the position that the people of Kenya had in their hearts about him. And I want to say that we will miss him. We know that a good leader must give birth to better leaders. So if Raila Odinga, it will be sad to imagine that when Raila Odinga stepped from the stage, that there will be a vacuum. It will be a failure of his own leadership if there was going to be a vacuum. But if you ask me, there is no vacuum. He has left countless disciples, both in government and in opposition. People he has inspired. And I believe that this nation will continue to go to the next level, both in his own family, in this region, and in the entire country and the world. Indeed, there are a number of people that have already been inspired and built their career based on the values they have learned from Raila Odinga. So I am not worried at all about the future. I'm not even worried about accountability, because we have now structures and systems. You remember what the former Prime Minister used to say, that it's not about him, it's about the systems. And countries that have endured, whether it is US, whether it's France, whether it's UK, they have endured over a long period of time because of the institutions they established. But who established those institutions? Is their leaders like Raila Odinga and many others that have gone through before us. So our country is in safe hands. Our country is in safe hands.
And CS, let me ask you a personal question. What value of Raila Odinga do you carry? What do you foresee yourself upholding? Of course, you were a parliamentarian, even earned your third term up until your appointment as cabinet secretary, and you are a leader in the country, one of the top leaders in the country. Many would say this is a character of Raila Odinga that I will live to hold dear. Which one character is it?
I think the first is courage. For you to achieve your vision in life, you must be courageous enough to pursue. Because there are many people who have values inside them, but they are unable to profess because they are unable to exercise those qualities that they have. So you need to have the courage to step out. Many people are complaining, staying home, saying nothing, doing nothing. You must be able to step out. And let me tell you something, because I've been in politics now for about 12 years or so, elective politics and then now executive, I must tell you that it's very hard to run government. And if you have to run government, you must be able to have courage and principles. You must be able to pursue your principles even when people misunderstand you. Because with the fullness of time, they will understand what you are trying to do. And if you do so consistently, then you develop what's called character. So character now will mature. Remember, there's also something that Raila Odinga has that many leaders never had. Many Kenyans, and particularly his supporters, became patient with him. Even when he was in opposition, even when it was dark, it looked like there is no future, they stuck with him. So leaders also are made by the people, by being patient, waiting for them, giving those leaders the opportunity to continue to grow. So for me, I believe the values of courage, consistency, and of course integrity. You must, if you have to go far in leadership, is integrity. And integrity is not what people know about you out there. It's about who you are even when people are not seeing. Because sometimes you may be presented out there misunderstood, covered by propaganda and so forth. But who you are can never be extinguished. And therefore, integrity is that which you are as a person. And you must be able to build on that, be honest, be firm, be consistent, be mindful of other people's welfare. You know, one thing about Raila Odinga that many people don't realize is that he used to have these friends that are in some village somewhere, you know, you will find him in Marakwet, for example, come for a funeral of a small person who is holding no office. and says, oh, ni rafiki yangu, we met 20 years ago and so forth. So it's important also to value people, to invest in people, to invest in friendships. Politics also is very lonely game. Particularly if you have people like us who are holding high office. Sometimes you don't know who is your supporter and who is with you because of the office you hold. But as you continue valuing people and investing in people, you get social capital. What has sustained Raila Odinga for all these years is social capital. You know, I would go to some joints in Nairobi and find him there. We were watching football together. He's Arsenal and Man United. You know, those kind of social values are very important. Yeah.
And now my last question, which is a very light question, even as the body of Raila Odinga comes and Samdo gets this. You campaigned in the game of politics. You were in opposing sides with Raila Odinga. I want you to tell the country one thing that perhaps they do not know. You were very critical in the election of Uhuru Kenyatta 2013, election of Uhuru Kenyatta 2017, and William Ruto 2022. In all these instances, the candidate on the other side was Raila Odinga. I want you to walk us into your campaign kitchen cabinet and tell us, what was it? What were you thinking? Were you afraid of the kind of command he had in the country? Just the thought of the person on the other side is Raila Odinga. How did it impact your campaigns? What were the thoughts in the campaign teams?
It was always very difficult running against Raila Odinga. Remember, in 2013, he was the prime minister. He was an outgoing prime minister. And so it wasn't easy. And as I told you, with this social capital and networks, you really needed to become very vigilant. And you need to plan to detail because really he had the masses. So ours was to go for detail, you know, here, there, and so forth, to just go to the last number. Otherwise, he wasn't an easy candidate to run against. But also what was very interesting is that after every election, I had an opportunity to engage him. You know, after 2013, there were many instances that I was going between the government and himself. And sometimes I would admit there was a time in 2014 or 15, I went to a joint in Nairobi to go and meet him. And the whole, you know, people's, the waiters in the restaurant were shocked that I was meeting Raila Odinga. And I learned very quickly in life that politics is not enmity, and your opponent today will be a supporter tomorrow. And you must separate between political competition and national interest of patriotism. And that is really what Raila... People never understood why he always shook hands with various governments, because he put country first. He understood in matters on principles how to work with everybody to advance the cause of justice and governance and peace in our country.